The Charlie Kirk story is falling apart and fast.
That's what actually puzzles me the most. It's not the shooter. I have to be honest. What puzzled me the most is the caliber and the power of the bullet and the exit wound. But the problem is that there's no exit wound. I think we should consider this an execution. Because if you want to assassinate something, you can do it in the privacy of their own home when they're getting out of the car. It could have been like that.
That's a very good point.
Whoever the shooter was waited till he was in front of a crowd on a stage. Mm-hmm. It is a public execution.
I've been very vocal about what I thought about the Charlie Kirk assassination. I've made no bones about how I think there's more to the story than we're being fed. I was upset about how the left was celebrating his death and all the censorship, and people were more upset Jimmy Kimmel getting censored rather than someone of Charlie Kirk's status getting assassinated. And I've said many times that you can agree or disagree with the man, but assassinating somebody because you disagree with his views, to me, is just the fucking height of disgust for me. So Martin here, he's my jiu-jitsu and judo coach. We were discussing it before class one day. We were discussing Charlie Kirk. He's well-versed on the intricacies of that kind of world. So I really want to bring him on again. And I think he'll be
the Bible.
I think he's going to be a regular, but I would trust what he has to say. He has no one to protect, and he has no political agenda. So on this special episode of Be Great, we're going to be talking to Martin Peyrou about Charlie Kirk.
Yes, Charlie Kirk. I want to say something. I think we should consider this an execution.
I agree.
It's a public execution. Because if you want to assassinate something, you can do it in the privacy of their own home when they're getting out of the car. It could have been like that.
That's a very good point.
But the thing is that whoever the shooter was waited till he was in front of a crowd on a stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
That's an excellent point.
And it is a public execution. And you brought another point very important, is like you saw some people on the extreme left celebrating.
I was disgusted.
Absolutely, because maybe they don't know Charlie Kirk, and maybe they got fed with this, I don't want to call it misinformation, right? But these ideas a little bit wrong about what he said, or some clips, edited that it sounded very not politically correct. Okay, fantastic. You don't agree with the guy, but killing someone because you don't agree with the guy is exactly what a tyrannical regime or tyrannical ideology goes for. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to, well, here's my point, and I'm not trying to throw shit on that side, but I grew up as a lefty, meaning
really,
like you have not. That's why they can't lie to me, because my dad was the most leftiest person you could ever imagine. So I'm gonna explain to you, so you have an idea how lefty my dad was. My dad was an active member of a group called Tupamaros, ultra-left guerrilla. Okay? Yeah, well, at the time, there was a right-wing dictatorship, and all the kids in the 50s and 60s were moving towards the left, right? And that's what happened. And then we had Vietnam, and then we had all of that, and everybody. But the first time I read the manifesto, I was 15 years old, and I read it again when I was 25. But what happened is this. Like, there's a very famous politician that says, if you're not a socialist when you're 18, you don't have a heart. If you're a socialist when you're 30, you don't have a brain. And I agree 100%. Mm-hmm. Because I was like that. But the funny part is this. I've read the manifesto more times than 99% of the leftists. Okay? So when you read it, it sounds like, oh, this is cool. This is so fantastic. And then when you have life experience and you see how things happen, it's like, oh, but this is not that, right? Or this is unrealistic. A lot of things are unrealistic because it's kind of a utopian vision of a world that sounds fantastic. Like no one is gonna like that idea that everybody is gonna have some money or is gonna be covered because if you can't produce on your own, we're gonna help you or we're gonna equalize that.
Yeah, fuck that.
Okay, and it sounds fantastic because
For the
it
people
sounds,
that don't have.
exactly, but it sounds fantastic to help us. But the thing is that the people doing that on the left, they're taking your money, not their money.
That's right.
They're taking your money and giving your money to the dumbass that doesn't want to work. Right?
Exactly. That's
So-
why I have issue with it.
Exactly. It's how it's done. Nice. So as I grew up, and I read it again at 25, when the Venezuelan dictatorship was already implemented. So it was like, oh, it was coming in. Chavez was coming into, and I was in Venezuela when he won, and it was like, oh no, this is not good. So I lived through it, and I can see the difference, and I can see from the outside it looks fantastic, but once you're on the inside, and this is something I speak a lot or talk a lot, about with the many friends I have from the Eastern Europe.
Okay.
That went through the communist Soviet Union and Soviet bloc. And it's the same thing. They had the same idea that they were raising that thing, making them think that it was fantastic. But once they started growing up and they started having their own lives, it was like, this is not that good. Why are you taking this away from me?
Right.
Right? So, and it's not about sharing. That's just one aspect. It's something that we spoke about last time, is that the government is so big, so massive, and they have control over everybody, right? And that is a problem. So one of the things that I like about the right side or the right wing of the bird is the fact that they go for a smaller government, focus on administration and taking care of this and taking care of that, and leaving you alone.
Okay.
Right? But the left has this idea that government has to be in every single one.
Yes.
Yes. And this is fantastic because that phrase that leftists use nowadays, yes, government should be everywhere, should be taking care of every single aspect of our life and should be involved in every single company or every single farm, and
Yes.
everything should be kind of federated, right? And centralized power, so we can oversee everything that it's going on. A big government that has to do with every single detail, every single person. But that's the definition of fascism.
Yes.
That's exactly what Mussolini said. Everything within the government, nothing outside of the government. It's
But the left is so quick to call right wings fascists.
Exactly. And the point is that also fascism can only be applied from the government. No, that's a very important, because from the position of power.
Oh, okay.
Do you understand? So you might have fascist ideologies, but you can't apply it if you don't have the power.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, if you don't
Agreed.
have, in this case, the guns, or you don't have the army, or you don't have the laws on your side, you can't force that. So the thing is that, and you can have, there's a confusion, but you can have, many people have this idea, that a dictatorship, it means the left is a dictatorship or the right is not. No. One thing is a dictatorship, and another thing is a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be either or, from the right or from the left, theoretically, right?
Fair.
There has been, throughout history, right-wing dictatorships.
Okay.
Like Pinochet was one, right? Videla in Argentina was one. They were ultra right wings.
Okay.
Okay. But there were dictatorships. The difference here is this. If you have a government that thinks it has to be huge and control every single aspect, everything within the government, nothing outside of the government, and you have a government that says we need to have a small government and we take care of this and you take care of your own life.
Yep.
Which one of those two structures allows you to have a dictatorship?
Obviously, the one that enables the government to have the most control.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's the thing. That's what people don't understand. They say, oh, no, but that's part of the government. Yeah, but the things that government, the lefty government is doing it is part of what a dictatorship looks like. We have this idea from the movies and the 70s that the dictatorships are going to happen because the army comes in and they kill the president, bam, and now we're in power and there's some military government going around and you see military cars and going around. And no, that doesn't mean dictatorship. That means a military government.
Yes.
Again, we have that confusion. You could have a dictatorship that is not a military government, like happened in many, many, many countries, right? Or you could have military, or you could have a government that is also a dictatorship, right? That, of course, it uses the military. So we have that confusion that if we don't see the dictatorship happening in those steps, like, kill the president, we're in power, we think it's not a dictatorship.
Sure.
That's why people don't understand what we were talking about last time, am I right? The process that I was telling you, and any Venezuelan can tell you, is that this is how Chavez set up a dictatorship. This is written in Noam Chomsky's books, and this is the blueprint of all the dictatorships that WEF is trying to implement, and it is happening as we speak in all of the countries around the world, because there's many ways to get into that dictatorship position.
So what was the purpose of eliminating Charlie Kirk?
Exactly. My idea here is this. The purpose is to create division. So we never before, I think society has been so divided.
100, I agree.
And it's not only the United States. It's everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's like right now I hear people saying, oh, well, I voted for whatever, the liberals or Democrats or whatever, but I didn't expect to be like that. What the fuck are you saying? I mean, it's never been so clear how it's going to be, right, as it is today.
Yep.
It's black and white.
They haven't changed their strategy or their platform. If anything, I mean, if we were even talking about the Liberal government here in Canada, it's getting fucking worse.
Exactly. So the thing is that division is already there.
Yes, 100.
Right? And many social psychologists explain this process in different ways. But the idea is that you start creating dissonance, right? So we don't agree on this, we don't agree on that. And then what we do is we start labeling people like you're a fascist, or you're ultra left wing, or you're ultra right wing.
Okay.
And this crazy leftist and this violent right wingers and this blah, blah, blah. So we start labeling, and then we start repeating that label again. And you see it on the news.
Yep. I agree.
There's no other way to call anybody but the extremist version of it is the extreme right wing. So, for example, when Charlie Kirk died, it was the extreme right wing.
Well, immediately the media tried to place him as a MAGA supporter.
Exactly. They labeled him as an ultra right wing.
Yes, which proved to be false.
Which ultra right doesn't exist nowadays, right? But it's like immediately they're trying to label. And after that, like Goebbels, the Hitler's propaganda minister, said you have to repeat the lie, repeat the lie, repeat the lie. And that's what news are doing. They're repeating the lie, repeating the lie, repeating the lie. So on both sides, they're more and more convinced of this, and they start just calling you, you're a fascist and a bigot and a, sorry, sweetie. What does fascism means? What is a bigot? Do you know what bigot means? Okay. Do you know what a ultra right wing means? Because a big capitalist, but right wing and capitalism, they go together, but they're not the same thing, right? So they don't know. They just repeat. And on the right wing side too, we have people that, and what Charlie Kirk did is he was trying to. I think he was trying to open, of course, the channel of communication, which he was a master at it. He was a genius at it. Okay, because you require a certain persona, a certain characteristic, a certain character to be able to sit down there, right?
Not raise his voice. Listen to your story. Listen to your and some of these fucking
and try
people.
to find a common point.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell you why I think Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and it's exactly what we're saying right now. He asked questions, and it's what I tell everybody. You've heard me saying this, and I tell this to my kids, and I tell this to all of my students. question everything. The reason why I believe in God and I believe in Jesus is because I questioned them. I didn't just swallow the pill. I questioned their existence, the reasons, all of that. And throughout that process of researching and searching answers, I found the answers, but I questioned it, right?
Okay.
We have to question everything because when you question, then reason comes in, right? It's the only way to avoid indoctrination or stop indoctrination is with education. And education is the opposite. And education happens when you start asking questions.
Right.
So remember back in the day in school, it was about teachers asking questions and you having to research and find out how to answer that question that the teacher already knew the answer, right? But it was that, okay, find the answer. It was that pushing us to open books and open dictionaries and having to find words little by little. And you became a genius, right? With the dictionary, finding words, okay, and going to the through an encyclopedia and finding the answer and writing it down and going back to classroom to answer that question. So that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
So Charlie was doing that. He was asking questions. And that is the difference. That's what made him so dangerous. And that's why he changed, I think, so many points of view. So many people came back and said, hey, but thank you for asking that. You know, I never thought of it. And you see that in his life interactions with many students or whoever. Was go, oh, well, I never thought of it. Right? Yes, I'm just asking the question because I think maybe there is something there when we try to answer that. And a lot of people change their view or their political view or their faith view or their life view just by having to answer a question, right? Because some people say, oh no, it was the Zionists, it was Israel. I don't know, we don't know. I'm not defending anybody. You know, I don't try to not to take sides, okay? I don't believe 100% of any. But there's a bunch of other people with millions of followers criticizing Israel hardcore, like Ian Carroll, Candace Owens, of the same Tucker Carlson, right? The same Nick Fuentes. So those guys are very outspoken.
Candace Owens is making a big deal about this.
Yeah, about their position. And they're not, because the thing is that they don't ask as many questions as Charlie. Charlie's a guy that asked questions. I don't know, but we have to think this and this. We have to think this and this. So now, if we go to the effect, I'm not saying Charlie Kirk's situation was planned. I'm not saying that because we don't have proof of a plan, right? But it happened at the best moment possible.
Sure, it was on public display.
Exactly. And it's what I'm telling you. We have the division, we have the labels, we have the repetition, and now kaboom. Now we have some weird people from the extreme left going on at celebrating church.
That to me was
we
heartless.
have many people from the left that said, hey, look, man, I didn't agree with him, but this is not right.
Yep.
Okay? Because one of the things Charlie was always up for, and I'm up for, is freedom of speech, right? Which we don't have here in Canada.
No, we don't.
Okay?
Everything's censored.
But they have it in the U.S. as the First Amendment, right?
So, okay, but let's discuss that. So a lot of the issues that people were talking about censorship in the States, especially with Jimmy Kimmel getting knocked off the air for a week, some people were saying that what he was allowed to say, what he said should be allowed under freedom of speech. Absolutely. But freedom of speech comes with consequences.
Yes.
So for him to say what he did, you know, then the rightful, and what was smart about the left is they were immediately, oh, Trump got him fucking censored. That's not what happened.
No.
The FCC had nothing to do with this.
No.
His ratings are shit. They're 1 million lower than Colbert, that other Democratic cuck. His contract is up this year.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so what happened is he said what he said. Disney had a problem with it. Disney asked him to apologize. He refused. And furthermore, he said he was actually going to heighten his attack on Trump the following night. So the two distributors for the Kimmel show is Nexstar, and there's another one, I forget the name at the time. They pulled the distribution. So Disney knocked him off the air for a week. Disney's putting him back on the air tonight.
Yeah.
But both of those distribution channels are not airing his show.
Yeah.
So let's see what that does with him. So yes, it's very easy for you to have freedom of speech. But as your employer, if I don't like what you have to say, I have the right to say, fuck you, you're fired.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It is. And I have the right to think whatever I think.
Sure.
And if that way of thinking affects your business, because if it doesn't affect your business, it's not a problem, right? But if the way I think affects your business, so we might not be able to work together.
That's right.
And maybe not in this aspect. We cannot work together in this, but we might be able to work together in something different.
Yep.
Right? Because that's the thing that, you believe this. Like many people said, well, I was canceled, or I lost followers, or certain clients don't want to work with me anymore because I posted about Charlie Kirk's death. And that's wrong, because that's one aspect of your life, right? It's like, why? Well, I don't know. That's an extreme position to go to. It's like, I don't like one thing about you, so I don't deal with you at all. And that is part of it. I don't remember the name of the writer, but there is a guy that wrote a book on how to kind of apply the Marxist movement, right?
Okay.
And one of the things he says is, whenever someone says something you don't agree with, you're going to label them as fascists and bigot and racist and all of that.
Yeah.
Right? The idea of that is to cut right away the possibility of a connection, of a conversation, right? Therefore, there's never going to be a change of heart or mind in the people caught in that, right?
But do you not think that somebody could have such an abhorrent personality that you just don't want to deal with them?
Yes, and that's fantastic. But that is true. And you might not, but we don't agree on everything.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean we cannot do things together.
Right, because at our core, you and I are the same.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I think people of like values, they can relate.
Values are very important.
Sure.
Yes, it's the most important thing. Exactly. Values are very important. But, and I'm not, I don't care this person went to jail for child pornography. But because I don't have anything to do with that, I will keep my friendship with that person. No, because, I don't support those values.
That's a very good point.
I don't support those values, right?
Exactly, right.
But politically speaking, we don't go to those streams.
Okay, but let's take the Charlie Kirk thing, for example. If you and I didn't agree with everything Charlie Kirk said, right? And maybe you didn't either. But let's just say you and I disagreed on the fact that you like Charlie Kirk and I didn't, or vice versa. Cool, I could still be your buddy. However, for you to be such a piece of shit that you celebrated his death, I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Or celebrating Jimmy Kimmel getting canceled.
See, I did.
No, because it's the same thing. It's freedom of speech. Yes, you have the right to say whatever you want to, but you have to deal with the consequences.
Yes.
And I know that because you know that I'm very outspoken about every single thing. And I know there's consequences. And I know a lot of people don't like me, but it's super simple. Maybe a lot of people don't like me, but the other half loves me. Because I say things they want to, they wish they would be able to say, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so it's fantastic. But I don't think we have to go to the point to cancel, because the cancel culture, it's wrong.
Yes, it's funny because I seem to be going back and forth in that. Mm-hmm. For example, those menopausal shrews on The View, I fucking hate them, right? Because all they do is I like truth, okay? Mm-hmm. So if what I didn't like about Kimmel is for the entirety of his career, he's not funny, first of all, but secondly, he would spread lies, or he would just only attack liberals. He hasn't had one liberal guest on his show in the last 3 years.
Conservative,
apologies,
yes.
conservative.
Oh, yeah, he's ultra left.
Yes.
Ultra.
So then that is, to me, is propaganda.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I like truth. Let's say you were a diehard fucking liberal, and you could sit here and we could have a conversation.
Yes, and argue.
Enlighten me about something maybe I didn't understand.
Yes.
Cool.
An example is guys like Benny Johnson or the same Joe Rogan.
Yep.
Am I right? So there are guys that the same Bill Mayer. All
Yeah,
right?
now-
That
yeah, he's changed too.
He interviews both sides of the
Yes.
spectrum,
Yep,
right?
yep.
He has no problem and agrees or disagrees with everybody. It's not a problem, but the conversation is there.
I think conversation is needed.
It's
but
needed.
if all you're doing, like The View, like Kimmel, like Colbert,
yes.
if all you're doing is spouting one perspective, I think you're a piece of shit and you should be off
Yes,
the air.
you are a piece of shit. Now, the canceling is what I don't agree with. And I'm going to explain to you why. Because I know, because I lived through a dictatorship, how that cancel is going to go.
Okay.
So I don't celebrate any canceling because the people right now, for example, on the left celebrating Charlie Kirk's death and allowing those things to happen, might, God help us, and that doesn't happen, but might end up having someone from their side of the political view killed.
That never happens.
I know it never happens, but it goes against.
Just out of curiosity,
it goes-
why do you think that is, though?
Look, for example, I remember politically speaking, I remember people that were with the left, and that's why the Gulag camp started, right? It's people that supported the useful idiots that supported the implementation of socialist policies in Soviet Union. The same happened in Venezuela. And that people, when they say, hey, but this is a little bit too much, they ended up
Yep.
in jail
Yep.
or killed. The book, The Gulag Archipelago, which I
Okay.
recommend you to read. Fantastic. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I'm really bad in Russian, okay? But he was one of those intellectuals that supported the socialists to be in power in Soviet Union. And he helped, and he was up there in a rank. And at one point he was like, hey, this went too far. I don't think this is right. Hey, man, to the Gulag.
Yep.
And he spent 7-8 years in a Gulag camp, right? I
Wow.
think. And then he escaped and blah, 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 and he wrote the book. So that is what happened. And I don't support the canceling because I know the canceling is going to go, it gets to the point where no one can speak. And I am pro the conversation, pro having the argument. So that thing that's saying, oh, you're fascist, you're a racist, I don't want to talk to you, because they don't even know what racist means, right?
Yeah, it's the same with all the stupid bitches that were going around saying about
They see
misogynist.
xenophobia and they call it, exactly, all misogynistic behaviors, and they see racist. No, that's not racism in particular, right? A country is not based on, or a religion is not based on race, right? So that's not racist. But the point is that I don't support it because I know that I believe that the second we start supporting the canceling, we are giving permission. We're allowing that cancel culture to come back.
I know it's a slippery slope, and
Exactly.
I feel like I'm being somewhat hypocritical because I am pro freedom of speech unless you're inciting violence. But even then, people then would
You're
say,
going to pay for the consequences of doing
Sure,
that.
right.
But you can do it. Like the people posting, yeah, let's kill it or whatever.
Yeah, people are threatening Candace Owen right now.
Exactly. Now you have to go to jail because you're threatening someone. And that is important. But you can say it, yes, you can say it, but you have to deal with the consequences of it, right?
Right. Okay, so let's play that out.
But the thing is that if we start canceling, we close the conversation, because that's what, in this case, the left is doing when they call you a fascist or a Nazi, right? It's like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you. I can talk to you right now because you're a fascist. It's like, no, why don't you talk to me? And we can figure this out, and we will be able to find a lot of things in common that we have, because there's a lot of people that are neighbors. They live in the same city, the same neighborhood. They have a lot of things in common, and they might disagree politically, but they have a lot of things in common, right? And they cannot. That's what they want to do. They want us to see black or white. You see, and that's what's dividing us. That they want us to see black and white. And if you think this way, it's because you're this, that. No, I'm not that way. It's just that I don't agree with this because of whatever reason, right? It's like what I'm saying right now. I don't agree with the cancel culture because I lived through it and I know its full extent, and that it's going to affect everybody to the point that no one can speak.
Okay, so let's go back to, because it was just before we were about to roll, and we talked about Tyler Robinson, the suspect for shooting
Yes.
Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
And then you and I don't believe that he is the actual shooter.
Yeah.
Well, at least there's a lot of holes in that fucking story.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of holes in that fucking story. So let's go to for example, technical things, right? When I received the video and I saw the video.
And you got the video before social media did.
Yeah. I got the video before social media did because I know someone that was involved in that situation. So they sent me the video with a question mark. Right? And I immediately answered 300 yards, 308. Now, I changed my opinion on the 308, not on the 300 yards. Okay, well, the security perimeter is about 100 yards, right? I was thinking about a 308 caliber because of the distance. But to be honest, you can shoot a 223, 300, 400 yards. I know people that can hit 1,000 yards with a 225, 223. People who know how to shoot.
Sure.
Right?
So as I understand it, he was 200 yards out and he was up shooting down on an angle and Charlie Kirk was deep inside that tent.
Yes.
Now, from what I understand about the situation, they don't know how he got the rifle up there. There's talk about he had it in his pants. Yeah. There's talks about him having it in his backpack. Yeah. Now, you, coming from experience, would also agree that there's no way that rifle would have fit in a backpack.
No.
Right? There's no way he could have put that in his pants.
No.
Okay? And if
you could put the cannon in the pants. You won't be able to walk properly.
Right. So when they showed video of that kid walking, he was walking normal. His knees were bending. So if he had that cannon down his leg would have been straight. He would have been walking.
Yeah, because if that's a rifle, it's a bolt action rifle, right?
Yep.
So the cannon is about this size, over 33 inches.
Okay.
So that's bigger than a femur.
Yep.
It would be the femur of some of the 6'7", 6'9", right? It would be a huge person, and he's not that tall.
No.
So it's really hard about the rifle, right? They were saying it's an old.
Yes, it was given to, I believe, his father by his grandfather.
Yeah.
It's an older gun. It's an older rifle.
It's an older rifle, not a Mossberg, some other rifle, but it's a bolt action rifle, right?
Right.
The point is that to arm and disarm, remember I told you a bolt action rifle.
Yes.
You need tools.
That's right.
So when everything happens and people say, hey, but to dismantle a bolt action rifle, you need tools. And then they came up with it. Hey, I found the screwdriver. Oh, yeah. And you need an Allen key too.
You need an Allen key?
Oh, I found one.
Of course.
So it looks like they're trying to find the tools after the event, right?
So even after putting it together, correct me if I'm wrong, do you not have to zero the scope?
Yes, you will have to zero the scope. So professional shooter will not take the scope out of the mount.
Okay, all right. So again, how would he transfer that gun, the rifle?
Yes. So that's the point. Now, once everything is set up, 200 yards, 300 yards, it's a safe shot.
Okay.
You don't have to be an expert.
Okay, fair enough.
You don't have to be an expert. If you go for 600 yards, well, you need to know how to shoot.
Okay.
Right?
But 200 yards with a kid that's never killed a man before, likely, I presume, the anxiety and the stress of being in this situation, that's all going to factor in on how well you're shooting.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. And dismantling somebody knows what they're doing, because if you've seen it, when you go to a gunsmith, when they dismantle one of those weapons, you see, it takes you 2-3 minutes to actually.
If you're a pro.
If you know how to do it, you know what you're doing. Maybe he knew what he was doing because it was his rifle or whatever.
Maybe.
But you need to be quick. And I don't know if he had the time to do that, or he wrapped the gun and then run with the gun and then dismantle the gun somewhere else.
Okay.
That is a possibility, right? And that's why they saw him walking around. Now, we don't have, it's funny because there's like a security camera can show you the face of the killer, but the satellites can show you the plate number of a car, right? So, yeah, I know technology is different in those cases, but we should be, so we see pictures now of the security cameras where we can see a perfect 4K video of his face.
Right.
Walking up or down the stairs, I don't remember, but and you see the kid's face in a CCTV. It's like, that's not CCTV quality camera. It's like, in my opinion, it's super, I don't know, that maybe that college has the most modern cameras that you can get, right?
Maybe. There's a video of him 17 minutes later from the college at a Dairy Queen ordering food, right? He had changed his shirt. So, okay, so people are picking on that. Maybe he's a fucking psychopath. Maybe he has no remorse and he's like, you know what? I just killed a man. I want a fucking chili dog. Yeah. Maybe that's true. But and the people are bringing up the fact that he was dating a transgender person, and none of that matters to me. All I want is the truth.
Yeah.
Like, if this kid did it, he must pay. And if he didn't do it, why are we being led to believe? Why are we being led to believe that he was the killer? Why is he the scapegoat? Who are we protecting? Yeah. Like, there's all these questions in the air right now, and I want answers.
Yeah, but I have all the questions too. Why I changed my opinion about the 308? Any version of 308 that can be shot, right? Because now they're saying it's 3006, right?
Okay.
Well, 3006, it's in diameter of a 308, right? But the cartridge is huge.
Wouldn't there have been a bigger?
That's a lot of power.
Yes.
So, and if you ever shot 3006, which is just a 308, Winchester 308, you shoot that to a deer, which are a lot stronger than us.
Yes.
The hole going out is this size.
Yes.
Right? So, and the stopping power of that gun is like, he was hit on the left side of the neck.
Yes.
That I'm absolutely sure. If he was hit on the left side of the neck because of the body reaction, right? You get hit and the body reaction. No, he didn't have a vest.
No.
You can see clearly that he didn't have a vest.
Yeah, I don't know how fucking smart that was, but...
It seems he never, but it doesn't matter. He didn't have a vest. Now, you might see that wound where the bullet goes in to his neck, where the blood comes out. But the problem is that there's no exit wound. And now, you can tell me, okay, I've only seen one bullet that can be stopped by a backbone, which is a 22.
Yeah, and that's
a 22's bouncing.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The hospital and many places, 22's bouncing. I've seen 9 millimeters bouncing on the pelvic bones.
I can see that. A lot
thicker.
Yep.
Right? But a .40 doesn't bounce.
No.
Right? It goes
22 is a kid bullet.
Yes. But it's the most dangerous bullet there is, actually.
Really?
In my opinion, yes. My opinion is the most dangerous bullet. Because if I shoot you from here, that bullet is going to go and it's going to go in and it's going to bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that is very dangerous, right?
Interesting.
Yes. If I shoot, boom, the bullet goes in, and if it's not stopped by the mass, it's going to bounce on a bone. And it bounces on a rib. Once it goes inside, that loses a little bit of power. It bounces on a rib, it bounces on your backbone, it bounces on your pelvic bone, and it destroys a lot of tissue. Yeah, it destroys a lot of tissue. And remember that what destroys the tissue in a bullet is not the bullet cutting through, is the vacuum that creates behind. Oh. That's what destroys and liquefies the tissue.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the vacuum. That's why the expensive bullets, right? When they go, they open a lot of, So when you see, for example, a .40, so when you see a person being shot with a 9 millimeters, it doesn't stop them. Actually,
no, there's no stopping power.
It goes through.
Yes.
Especially if it's a copper case bullet. But a .40, right?
Yep.
The stopping power is brutal.
I know.
And it's .40, right?
I fired one.
What happened? Okay. What happened with that 308 is slightly smaller diameter, but it is bigger. And the cartridge, it has so much power. And the 3006 has so much power. It goes through anything. So if that bullet went here, it's coming out somewhere with your arm. You understand?
Yes. Okay.
And even if it hits the backbone, like I'm saying, the only bullet I know that can hit and bounce on a backbone is going to be a 22. Okay. So I don't see the math there. That's what actually puzzles me the most. It's not the shooter. I have to be honest. What puzzled me the most is the caliber and the power of the bullet and the exit wound. That's what puzzles me. Now, some people are saying, oh, there's a different shooter. Like, I want to say this. The guy touched the hat, touched the arm. It's like, dude, take it easy, okay? I mean, take a deep breath. People, move. You touch your glasses. You're not telling him to kill me.
Well, you did fucking choke me out on...
Okay, yes. But you're not, that's not your, do you understand? You can move, you can adjust your glasses, your hat, or whatever. It doesn't have to be a signal.
I think we're trying to find.
Yes.
Like,
and then you see a hand,
theories.
you see a hand moving that somehow you see some timing, there when the hand moves and the bullet happens. So that's a gun. No, it's a fucking hand. You can't see with those cameras. We can't see it. Okay. You just see this bush here looks very suspicious. Have you ever tried to pee at night in the woods?
Yes.
Everything is suspicious because you can't see shit.
Right.
Right. So they try to stick to what we can see and what we can, right? So they say there's a second shooter. They said the second shooter comes from, I think they said the second shooter was right there on the building next to him.
Okay.
Like about, 30 feet or something like that. When you watch the video, they are, and I saw someone saying, no, this is the real shooter because the bullet hits here and that's why he bends this way.
Okay, yeah.
Interesting theory.
Yeah.
Now, I don't believe that.
Okay.
Because of the difference. So when you see the flash of whatever the muzzle of whatever, right?
Yeah, the muzzle flash.
Maybe it's a muzzle flash. And you see the bullet between the noise and the bullet. That's not 30 feet.
Okay.
That's a bullet that moves around, let's say, we're talking about in between 2,000 feet to 2,400 feet per second, right?
Right.
So, do you understand? To cover that distance, a 30 feet with one of those bullets is instantaneous.
Right. Okay. I haven't even heard this theory before.
Yeah, and when you shoot, for example, when you go in the field, you shoot, and you go and you set at 100 yards, right? And just 100 yards, but 200 yards, and you set up and you shoot. You hear bang, bang.
Yep. There's time. Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. Is bang. That's exactly what happened. And then there's delay as reaction, right? But people are saying, it's because people are saying the sound came from that building. Yeah, because the sound bounces. There's
Fair.
an echo.
Fair.
The sound bounces and you've heard shots. They bounce, right? The sound bounces. So it's that simple. When you shoot 200, 300 yards, you go pound. Have you seen a 1 kilometer shot?
No.
The bullet's traveling 1,000 meters.
Okay, so we can agree that there's holes in the story. Would you say that? Okay. So, we're not going to come to a conclusion today on who did it, why they did it. So what my question to you is, so that we'll close this up, and then when the story gets more evolved, we can talk about it again.
Yeah, we have more information,
So why do you think they're possibly putting up a scapegoat? Why is this kid the sacrificial lamb if he didn't do it? And why do you think this is happening right now? I don't think that this was just some spur of the moment kid who was upset with the Red Eric from Charlie Kirk and he wanted revenge or he wanted to stop him. I believe the kid said, you can only tolerate so much hate. Why did this happen? What, in your opinion, because right now I believe Candace Owen is blaming Israel for their part in it. I think she's calling out Zionists, or why do you think we're in the situation that we're in right now? Because we're not going to have an answer. We're not going to be able to say that kid did or didn't do it.
It's a Kennedy.
Yes.
Right?
Do you think we're ever going to get the truth?
It could be. Now, what I'm saying here is I'm 50-50 on the kid.
Okay.
I'm 50-50 on the kid because of what I'm telling you about the bullet.
Okay.
The sound, the caliber, the size of the wound, the no exit wound. There's a lot of things that don't add up in this.
Okay.
A Mauser. The rifle was a Mauser.
Okay. Yep.
That's an old Mauser. So probably if they say it's an old Mauser.
Is that a German rifle?
Yeah, we're talking about the 50s, probably an old 150s and 60s.
Okay.
And the caliber with Mauser, there's a lot of different calibers.
Okay.
A lot of different calibers, right? I saw the picture of the scope. The scope is mounted very wrongly, dude.
So again.
So the scope is mounted wrong. Why? Because it's mounted too far back. So it's going to be too close to your eye.
Okay.
If you have the scope here, you can't see clearly, right? You need the scope at a certain distance from you to be able to.
One of the things that troubled me is that if you're going to try and take somebody, you're not going to go for the neck. Like unless you're a pro, you'll take the head, you'll take the septum. The neck is too easy to miss.
It depends on if it's a trained sniper. It depends on which sniping school he went, right? So for example, some snipers are trained to shoot through the mouth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. Some snipers are trained to shoot to the base. Some snipers are trained to shoot to the frontal lobe. Some snipers are trained to shoot to the center of mass.
Easiest thing to do.
Right. So it depends. And certain organizations have this type of training.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that the sniper cannot do any other thing. Yeah, of course. These guys are experts. They can shoot a coin at a
Okay, but I don't believe this kid was an expert.
No, this kid was an expert, but this is only a 200-yard shot. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to be an expert.
Do you think he was going for center and he missed and he hit the neck?
Yes. And now there's another way to think about this too. Oh, if the shooter was an expert, the shot from 500 yards, we didn't hear the shot. We didn't hear the shot. As an expert, he shoots about 500, 800 yards. The mistake range, it's about 1.5 inch.
Okay.
That's a possibility. You see, I'm asking questions here. That's a possibility. So that's why I'm 50-50 with this kid. Could he have done the shot? Yes. It was a wrong shot. Maybe he was aiming at the center of mass, right? And he went a little bit higher. But now the tent is here.
That's right.
It's easier for him to see the center of mass than to see. Because the bullet didn't go through the tent.
That's right.
Right? So it's easier for him to see the center of mass than to see the neck.
That's right.
Good. Now, okay. The scope wasn't calibrated properly, so the bullet went a little bit higher.
Okay, sure.
Could be.
Yes.
Could be that, right? And that's why the bullet, but in my opinion, that the bullet came from the left and the body reaction, seeing those body reactions, it was hit from the left. That's what the coroner says, but we don't have to believe any of that. But what I see from the reaction, he was hit
I
from
will
the left.
never forget that shot.
And I don't think it's impossible to be a 30-06. It's because it would have taken him out of the chair.
Yes.
When you shoot a deer with a 308, has less power, the deer goes. When you shoot a deer with a 30-06, some people hunt deer with 30-06. The animal almost falls. And a deer, I mean, you have an idea how strong those animals are.
Sure.
If you don't hunt, you have no idea. But if you hunt, you know how strong those animals are.
Just look what will happen to your car if you hit a fucking deer.
Yes.
That should give you an indication of the mass on a deer.
Yes. And you shoot the deer and the deer keeps on running. You go through both lungs and the heart, and you have to run sometimes 1 kilometer to find the animal.
Okay.
Right? So that is a 308 or a 30-06. He would have flown the chair.
What I find strange is that as soon as it happened, they tried to get him out of the area, and almost immediately they started to tear down the tent. All the cameras were disassembled and removed. The tent was torn down right away. They didn't even allow for a police investigation.
No.
That strikes me as being weird too.
Yes, you don't do that because the first thing you do is you close that area.
Sure.
You close the whole university in this case, right? Because the shot came from afar.
So if it wasn't this kid, why do you think this happened?
Because it's the pinnacle of the division.
Okay.
That's what's happening.
So the powers that be.
Absolute pinnacle of the division.
I would agree with that.
Let's call it the Charlie Kirk effect, like they're calling it. It has many positive things, right? Because you have a lot of people going to church.
Yes.
People that never went to church or they didn't go to church in 20 years. And the people that started reading the Bible for no reason because of what happened to Charlie Kirk, right?
His, it wasn't the funeral, it was the memorial, was seen by more people than any other political figure or more people watched that than they watched the Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
There was, I believe, 100,000 people at the event.
So Why Charlie Kirk? Because Charlie Kirk, it's not a person, it's an effect.
You think they martyred him?
That is a possibility because Charlie Kirk, it's an effect, and you can see the effect. The millions of lives that were touched, not only in the US, but around the world.
Agreed.
By this situation. And you see the Charlie Kirk effect. So Charlie Kirk was not a person, right? It was an idea. It was an effect.
I agree.
It's a guy that was basically a preacher.
Yep.
He was not ordained.
No.
But he could have been ordained, right? In his
Devout Christian.
Devout Christian. And the way he knows the scriptures, absolutely amazing.
100.
He could just pull it out of the hat. No problem. So
and I also believe this guy never graduated high school either. If I may be wrong, but
I think he went to. If someone can help us out with this,
yes.
I think he went to college and immediately he saw that.
Maybe that was it. Maybe he didn't graduate college.
Of the indoctrination, he was like,
yes.
"Hey, I don't want to be part of this."
He was quick to say that he felt college was a scam.
Yeah. But also, someone was saying, I think it's Benny Johnson. I think he was saying that he started Turning Point actually when he was 14 years old. So he was pretty clear on what he was doing, even though maybe he didn't know how far he would get. But Charlie Kirk is an effect.
I agree with that.
I'm not saying he's some type of spiritual figure or messiahs or anything like. No. But he's a fantastic person, a fantastic human being, human being. Beautiful person because of his actions, I think, right? I'm not an expert on Charlie Kirk. I've seen Charlie Kirk just like you sometimes.
Watch his videos, yeah.
Watch his videos. It's a beautiful person, fantastic human being.
He didn't seem to have any malice.
No, a family man.
Yes.
That was actually writing a book on the Shabbat.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he was very respectful of the scriptures. So the effect of being Charlie Kirk and not any of the other more political figures. The Charlie Kirk's, it's floating in between that. You could say political figure because he was responsible for maybe 80, 90% of the young votes that Trump got.
Right? Yeah. But, there is rumor that he helped a great deal.
Yes, but also the spiritual side of it, the preaching, that they practice what he preaches.
Yes.
Too.
Yep.
Right? That's very important of him. Yeah. He walked the walk and talked the talk. So there's no doubt about it, right? And he's a family man with beautiful kids. And people are pray for Charlie Kirk. No, man. I'm going to pray for their kids.
That's what I found abhorrent. Like people were, motherfuckers. Like they were just like, fuck his wife, fuck his kids. Like I've never seen such disgusting evil. And I'm sorry, I can't take the high ground on that.
And then I'm seeing Charlie Kirk as an effect that finishes that line, like draw deeper the line between one side and the other. And now what's left from one side to come to the other or to exchange, to switch sides.
I've seen that happen too.
That wall is higher than ever. It's going to call a lot of people from one side into the other. So
I agree.
I want to go a step further, right? Because I told you he's looking at him also as a religious figure, right? Without saying he's a religious figure.
No, I agree with you though. He is definitely a figure.
We have right now that the deaths of Christians in the north of Africa and the Middle East is in the hundreds of thousands.
Okay. Mainly
they get killed with machetes, torture, women are being raped. No one's talking about that.
No.
Nigeria has, I think, 1 million dead. That war. Burkina Faso is in the 400,000, right? And it's the same people involved in those wars, the same people killing the Christians. So, but we're not talking about that because it's not in the news, right? But there's
Why do you think some things don't get put into the news?
Because it doesn't support the division. If more people knew about what's going on in the north of Africa, with the Christians in this case, I think a lot more people would pay attention to that. And praying for those, not only for Charlie Kirk and his family, who deserves it, right? But just 3-4 days after that, a pastor was killed in California. Someone got into his house, shot him. Father of 4 or something like that. So no one knows that because the news are, he's not news. But why am I saying this? Because I want to go back to something we talked about last time. And I told you, when people ask me, what you're saying is that you really believe that there's a fighting between good and evil? Yes, there is.
That seems to be talked about more and more these days.
It has to be. Now I can get a little bit more into the prophecies, prophetic views.
Okay.
Right? So I don't know if you ever heard of Baba Vanga,
No.
Bulgarian, I think,
No.
lady, born in the 1800s, and she described, she was blind when she was a kid, and she described many prophecies that actually came to happen, like this First and the Second War. And there's another one, French one, Marie-Juliette Gélange, also from the 1850 or something like that. And she prophesied many things, including the first and the second, not only, but she prophesied the dates.
Wow.
Yeah. Many years before the Spanish flu, the second, and she prophesied the third World War too.
Oh.
Just like Baba Vanga. There was no social media at the time. So people didn't, I heard that. And no, you had to read books, right? And Baba Vanga, being blind and Braille didn't exist at the time.
Oh, I really want to look into that.
Yes. So, and here's the thing: when I hear those things, someone brought it. I knew about Baba Vanga, but about this lady Marie Juliette was telling me about that, and it was like they were saying, but this is going to happen, and this is what's going to happen. And both of them said that about around the year 2048, 2050. Communism is going to rule the world, and it's going to open the doors for the Antichrist to come. And after that, the rebirth of humankind, whatever, they go into the scripture. So we have to pick this with whistles, right? We have to be very careful what we get out of this, right? But the thing is, when I hear those things, what I told the person that was telling me about this prophet, if you want to call it like that, was that gives me up to a point a certain peace, because it shows me that I'm in the right side of history. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm trying to avoid that from happening, right? I'm trying to, because why would I do it? Because I want a better world for my kids.
Sure.
I don't want my kids to have to fight a war that is not theirs, right?
Okay.
I don't have my kids to have to go through what I went, right? Like no parents wants that for their kids if you have a fucked up situation. That's why I wanna plant that tree. I'm not gonna eat those fruits. I'm not gonna rest under the shade of that tree, but my kids will.
Yes.
And my grandkids too.
Yes.
And that's why I'm so outspoken. And that's what I talk about this. And that's why I believe we have to try to find, like we were talking about, that is the spiritual path. It's not the religion. It's not the book per se. It's the spiritual path.
Yeah, there's a difference between being spiritual and being religious.
Exactly.
And while I don't have any kids, I don't like injustice. I don't like falsehoods.
Exactly. But you don't have kids, but you care about other people.
Yes.
And the well-being of other people and what's left in the world for other people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly. So I'm saying I have kids. That's why I do it. But I know you, and I know you care about others' well-being. Mm-hmm. So I understand where you come from. That's what I'm saying. And
I also don't like injustice, and I'm a big proponent of revenge. Like if somebody, and I know that's not spiritual, but if somebody crosses you, I need payback, right? And I don't know if that's a healthy attitude to have, but if anybody crosses me or my loved ones, I need blood.
Okay. Now, it's true that some part of the scripture says an eye for an eye. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go one step deeper into the law of cause and effect, the karmic law.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. And every time you hurt or kill someone, you create a karma for your spirit that you're going to have to pay. Yeah.
Yep.
Through. The only situation, scriptures, this ancient books like the Bhagavad Gita or other books said that you will not have a karma if you kill someone in self-defense. And not only will not give you the karma, it will take away the karma of the person because he didn't commit the crime.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm not proposing that, okay? Even though I believe in the caste law, but I'm not proposing that. But what I'm saying is, instead of believing in revenge, because believing in karma will take care of them, maybe it's too far from you right now, okay? You might get there, but right now,
I'm not as enlightened as you are, brother.
But right now, might seem too far-fetched, right? But look at it this way. Yeah, if you're in your house, someone breaks in and tries to hurt you or your wife or whatever, you have to defend yourself.
100.
Yes. Yeah. So rest assured, based on what I believe, that you will not create a karma. Now, if you go after in a revenge act, I don't want you to do that because you're going to create bad karma for you. And maybe your loved ones too.
You know, I agree with you, certainly on the self-defense, but you're saying that you should stop shy of actually pursuing vengeance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I can't. God damn, you're so much more enlightened than me, eh?
No, it's not like it's a different view.
Yeah.
It's a different view. Maybe I am scared of the consequences. I don't know.
No, you're not scared of shit.
But the thing is that it's like we talk about this. I believe there's more layers. I believe there's more lives. I believe there's more things, right? Just in this life and the next one too, okay? And I believe the people we interact closely in this life had something to do in our past, and it's going to have something to do in our future lives.
Perhaps, but I'm not going to change the way I want to live my life now for the hopes of karmic payback. To me in life, there's three things that move me: passion, revenge, and dogs.
Okay. No. And I agree with you. I'm not going to stop living my life now because of the hopes of something.
Getting into heaven.
But I believe that if you do good and you try to do good and you take care of other people.
I agree.
You are putting the next one.
That I agree with. But let's play a story for you, okay? You go into business with somebody.
Are you talking about my last week? Okay.
Right. Okay, exactly.
If I tell you.
So we touched on that last week. You told me about it. Okay. So you go into business with someone, they fuck you over. Do you not want payback?
You know what? No.
Fuck, man.
Because I have complete... now that I'm saying it out loud, it sounds crazy.
It fucking does.
Trust that
the universe is going to take care of it. I don't have that much trust in anybody, dude. If something needs to happen, I need to make sure that I am responsible.
You know what's the heaviest load in life? Guilt.
I would have no guilt.
No. It's the only thing that let you get rid of the guilt.
Yeah, but for me, getting revenge.
That's why forgiving is so hard. But that's why forgiving is so hard.
That's why I don't like it.
Now, I'm going to give you a stoic perspective.
Okay.
What is hard for you?
I don't like
forgiving.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's what you have to fucking do. You can't do what is easy for you. You have to do what is hard for you, and you have to work on understanding and being able one day, tomorrow, in a week, in a year, 10 years, 100 years, to be able to forgive it, because it's the only way you can take the load off of you.
Yeah. The load comes off of me when I get revenge.
Might be the easy way in your case. For other people, might be the hard way. But in your case, might be the easy way. So if we go into the stoic perspective, try the hard way.
I remember a lesson you told me. It was just at the beginning when I was training under you. And you were like, I think there was a technique. And I'm like, I don't like doing that. And you're like, that's what you need to do then. Anything you don't want to do, that's what we need to work on. Anything that you, for whatever reason, you're afraid of or don't want to do, that's what we're going to work on. And so, but this particular circumstance, that is a mindset. I believe that you protect and support and enrich people that are on your side and you help you, right? I believe that you should help others that need help. Not for, and I've said this many times on the show, I believe that if you are blessed in life, it is your responsibility to the universe to take care of others, not for karmic payback, just because it's the right thing to do.
I know, you told me before. That's why I know you care about others.
Right.
Yeah,
but I also believe if somebody fucks with you, I just cannot let that go.
I'm not gonna go to the point to say, okay, I'm gonna put the other cheek, right? I'm not Jesus Christ, nowhere near. Okay? I'm not saying I'm gonna go defend myself. I'm not saying I might not have an argument. I'm not saying I'm not gonna. No. Right now I'm thinking of it and I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to be silly or naive, gullible, and believe that this is happening because something better is coming.
Sure, and that gives you some modicum of peace. But let's talk about the situation that you're in without belaboring it and getting into it, because I know you told me about it. You not caring to get revenge gives you a sense of peace that I wouldn't have. Because if I was in similar circumstance to you and somebody fucked me over, I would be driven by my need for revenge. Whereas you have a sense of peace and you're like, the universe will take care of it. So on one hand, you are benefiting and you're in a better place than I am. But for me, I need blood.
I understand. And at one point in life, I was on that side. So I understand. Okay? It's not that I never thought of it. Okay? Of course I thought of it, right? But the thing is that I can tell you by experience is not, the payback is not what you think.
Yeah, man. I guess I envy that peace that you have by being able to be.
Don't envy it because it was really hard to get it.
Okay.
Okay. So you can have it by going through shit. Like, always remember that quote that I love, right? About Winston Churchill, if you're going through hell,
keep
keep on going. Right?
Yep.
But also can be achieved many other ways, right? Like, remember I told you, and I love this phrase of Jack Kornfield, because people has that argument, like, when I talk about reincarnation or anything like that, right? Or spiritual enlightenment or God or whatever. And I have always used, it doesn't matter the situation, I use the same Jack Kornfield's phrase, which is, if you don't believe in reincarnation, meditate 10 or 15 years and we'll talk about it. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the other way. It's also hard, but it's a lot more peaceful.
Yeah.
It might be a possibility. That's what I'm saying. I'm throwing the question there.
Yeah.
For you to cook it, right? Take your time cooking it. Your I understand something also. Your view, your perspective on this, it's not wrong because it brought you to here, where you are at right now and who you are right now. So it had a purpose. And like a caterpillar, at one point we have to change, right? Nice. And so I'm not saying what you did or what you believe is wrong, because that's my point. I don't think, I was wrong in the past because I thought socialism and communism was good. No, I was just a fucking naive kid.
Okay,
right?
and that kind of evolution I can understand.
Exactly, but that led me to starting asking questions and questioning everything, and then finding the answers that made me have this broader view about, for example, the political spectrum, and being able to educate myself in political or politics per se, no, but on understanding. So I know when a leftist is talking to me, what they're saying, where it comes from, because I read the book.
And you speaking from experience.
And I'm speaking from experience. So it gave me a broader sense of or vision of the situation. So I'm not going to say it was wrong per se. I can say it was stupid because it was naive, but I'm not going to say it was wrong. So the same I'm saying is what your views were fantastic because they help you to get here and to become who you are. You should be proud of it. It took a lot of work. We talked about that last time, right? Everybody wants to be a black belt. Everybody wants to be, but no one wants to climb all the way up to that bar. And then if I want to make money, I'm just going to drop the bar here, pay me, I'll give you the belt, right? And everybody hops over the bar. Little hop. You don't have to climb. You don't have to become that expert climber that goes through the bar and become a black belt, a millionaire, guy with peace. Yeah, with inner peace and all of that. It's climbing all the way up to that bar, right? So
I agree with you on the 2 out of the 3.
Okay, so it's a matter of working, because what I'm saying is whatever your beliefs are or were right. But at that moment, help you to go through it, right? It's like many kids, no, everybody has some issues from childhood, right?
Yes.
That made you developed a personality that helped you deal with that situation.
Yes, agreed. We have coping mechanisms.
Exactly, which is called coping mechanism, right? But at one point in life, that coping mechanism is no longer helping you.
Absolutely.
Like anxiety attachment, because you felt alone, your parents weren't there, whatever. It's what you feel, right? What you felt at that moment. But now, when you want to build up a relationship, an adult relationship in long term, and you have anxiety attachment issues as a coping mechanism that you bring from your childhood, it's like,
it has a negative effect on your current life.
Exactly. So it worked perfectly fine because you needed that love. You needed those hugs, mommy, whatever, right? Whatever you needed at the time. It was the way to get it. But at one point that stops working. I don't know at what point. I don't know. I'm not an expert in psychology, even though I love psychology and philosophy, right? But I'm not an expert on the field. But at one point, I don't know where, that belief doesn't help me anymore.
Yes, I agree that we can evolve.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Keep the door open to that evolution. I'm not saying it has to go in that direction. But if you keep on stating that this is this, do you understand?
You close yourself off from the possibility.
The window remains closed.
I just hate the idea of forgiveness, dude.
No. Don't talk about forgiveness. It's saying just start with little by little. Just start by not labeling you.
Okay.
Also, being driven by passion, it's fantastic. It's beautiful. It's great. Me too. Right? And stop there. Well, you can have the dogs.
I'll have the dogs.
Yes. I agree with you 100%.
Okay, we're going to end it there, brother.
Exactly.
So
but just do that. Start with that.
I agree on the passion. I'll give the dogs, and then I'll leave it open to revenge to be dependent on circumstance.
Yes. Next time we have to do the podcast at the gym because we talk so much about this shit at the gym.
Yes. Leave your comments down below what you think is actually happening. A, with Charlie Kirk. B, what's happening in the world. If revenge is the good road to go down. And as always, be great. And brother, thank you again, man.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, people. Happy to be here. Thank you.